Go to the computer. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Coming Home to You network. I'm again with Jared Banks, and we've been talking about the holy wells and the power of water and the magic of the sites, and also how it ties in with trees and with the mycelium, with the mushrooms. So, Jared, I'm going to hand it over to you and ask you to tell us a little bit about the symbiosis between the trees and the mushrooms and how they all tie up it together.
I would love to. I would love to. Right. When we as people, when we pass this earth, when we die, and we're buried back into the soil, after a while, our bodies decompose and we enter back into fungal format. So fungal format is like the mycelial network and all of the above. So this would be very much seen as the intelligence of nature and how trees, how plants, how they all symbiotically um, live in this world, how they share information, all of the above. So we as people, we enter into that realm. So we go back to the intelligence of nature. That's where we come from. So it's like as if we as people come to and from with this. So
Right.
mushrooms in Ireland were always seen as gateways into the other world and all of the above. Your brain is a mushroom. Your brain is a fungus. It functions the same. And we live in a world now where people are realizing that the future of medicine is mushrooms, different forms of mushrooms that can cure you of and heal you of many different sicknesses, right? So the trees are very important as they share a very similar immune system to us, right? Or not, nervous system to us. And as we interact with trees, it brings balance back into our nervous system, right? So I suppose I'll quickly start on, let's say, the intelligence of trees and a bit of the intelligence of the mycelial network too as well. So in Ireland, we've always had reverence for the oak tree, and people would talk about the knowledge and wisdom of the oak, all of the
Right.
above. So the best way to think of that is if I had an acorn, right? Let's say think of this as an acorn for a moment, right? The best way for our minds to understand the intelligence of it is think of the acorn as, let's say, a memory stick from a computer. So that memory stick would have intelligence in it, and when you put it into a computer, you can extract the intelligence from it. So when you put the acorn into the ground, I call it plugging it in. You're plugging it into the ground. So the intelligence of that acorn will teach the soil how to grow properly. It will bring balance back into the whole soil network and strengthen up the soil. And then what happens is as the tree grows, the leaves grow from the tree and fall down. So the trees are what build soil. That's what they do. And different trees will interact with different mycelial networks because different trees will feed some trees and different trees will feed different
Right.
plants and take you could say rubbish from different tree the waste products from different trees will grow other trees and stuff like that, um yeah, and you can you can basically get into coding soil, right? You can code all soil formats and you can bring in the archetypes from different trees, um and you can heal the soil. You can, like, when we talk about trees in Ireland, people correlate that to druids and stuff, right? But the druids were said to be a people whom were given the intelligence of nature from, you could say, Tuatha Danann or god forms or anything like that. And they were the people who healed the divinity of the world through an understanding of nature and planting and ceremony and ritual and stuff like that. So we can heal our very environment using trees. And at the moment in Ireland, we're down to 2% DNA of native Irish woodland. And
Wow.
we're wondering why we as people are so sick, you know? And so there's a lot we can learn from trees, and there's a lot to be done. I plant oak trees, I grow oak trees, and I've developed my own relationship with it over a while, right? And it has sent me on a fascinating journey. I was kind of growing years ago. I was one of these weirdos out the back garden studying soil and playing with the dirt. And realizing these patterns, I suppose you could say, like you would have, I definitely know, believe that the coding of soil and the patterns you can, they're the same patterns in all of life. When you talk about, let's say, sacred geometry, all of the above, even the archetypes that bring in, um, you could even say ecosystems and whole, even you can bring this into economy, the whole lot. The same building blocks can be used for absolutely everything, right?
Yeah.
So there's many dimensions to trees, but for now we're probably better off keeping to the healing part of it.
That's it. And when you see a photograph of the tree and the tree system, how it's very similar to our nervous system within the body, and how the top of the tree with all its branches and twigs, and you look at then at its root system as well, how both of them look very similar.
Yeah,
And we
totally.
can you can outlet that on our nervous system, and it looks very same. The very same trails that they have. So we're all connected, we're all interconnected. And it's like as we were saying last week, that we need nature. We're part of nature, and nature needs us as much as we need nature, that we're one and the same. We're all part of the same minutia. And I suppose as soon as we can realize this, get our head around it, that we'll respect it and take care of it better, because that's our role in life, is to mind nature.
That's why I believe we're here. We're that like
Yep.
we live in a world like you've all the bullshit of work, all this, that, the other. We're here to look after nature and help nature to look after us. So with our ecosystem around us, that's biologically fully connected to us
Mm.
in exactly who we are. I've been part of many different, I suppose, rituals, teachings, and I've got to know so many people around Ireland who are very interested in woodland teachings and all of that. And it's fascinating as well, where um, you can put your back to a tree, right? You can put your back to a tree and your hands with your thumbs pointing up back, and you can directly connect your nervous system to the tree, right?
Mm.
And when you start doing that, you start to realize first thing your heart rate goes right down, your heart rate, your stress levels, so you can now monitor all these things. Um, it's very hard to explain the level of peace you get. It's like bringing you into the real time of when people say now. Um, I find you can definitely do that 100% with trees. Totally.
Absolutely. Because
Absolutely.
because like you said, there's more and more people waking up to this fact, and there's such a thing out there, what as a forest bath, where people
Yeah.
go out and spend time in the trees, out in nature, and they it's a bit like, what's that thing in America, where your heart rate and everything sort of slows down.
Yeah.
Um, like with the harmonics, you tune up into the trees and that whole energy system, and just like I said, in the now, you just be as
Totally.
in.
And obviously, there's meditative practices you can do too as
Mm,
well in that state. Um, Obviously, there's different manifestabilities and stuff as well. You can do when you can have, let's say, the tree behind you, big massive tree, right? You can get leaves or bark from that tree, and you can make a tea from it.
mm,
Can actually drink that. And obviously, you ideally you want to keep to even, let's say, the understanding of Om and different trees that are conscious at different times. So you can use these as a major healing mechanism for yourself. So even drinking tea from the tree that you're right next to, connecting to, um, I find that you can enter into a state where it's kind of nearly timeless,
yeah,
nearly almost timeless. And it's a bit deeper than that too. Like, let's say when people talk about mushrooms, all of the above, and people talk about the effect of, let's say, magic mushrooms when it comes to mycelium and or psilocybin, all that sort of stuff. So even if you think about it, the trees themselves they program mycelium networks, all of the above. So you can drink tea from the bark of trees, and it becomes very oily, right? But when you drink this, this is so good for your lungs as well, these types of teas, right? But also, it's like it's nearly like a very diluted form of mushroom, really. So you can drink this tea, you can become very relaxed. You're not going to have any um, not a psychedelic, nothing like that. But what happens is you just become tuned to nature more.
Yeah.
So eh, you just become part of the time of that ecosystem in the woods, right? And I believe when you're in that time zone or timeless zone, almost otherworldly timeless zone, I believe the healing that comes from that alone is very powerful. Like, think of it for a moment. You have if a runner is running, I used to be a personal trainer, whatever. So if you're running marathons, your legs get tired, right?
Mm.
We're living in a world where stress is through the roof, so much going on. So our brain also needs time to switch off. So tea from trees and stuff can definitely help with that.
Yeah.
Sitting in the woods, drinking tea from the trees, it just brings you back into the I would just say the real world, even like, you know. Um, I find when I drink teas and sit in woods like this, I notice more about nature, animals, all of the above, and I just become very much at peace with myself, right? And yeah, I think the healing benefits from that are incredible, and I think these used to be part of natural medicines in Ireland for a very long time.
Yeah.
And like ideally in our we're running short of native trees, but at the same time, we're getting to the point where we realize the importance of it and why we need to go back growing these trees, all of the aboves, right? It's not even the teas, yes, are a gateway to that, right? But like so is kind of as we spoke about drinking well water and all of the above too as well, you know? Um, like think about it a long time ago in Ireland, people didn't have let's say the advanced water systems that we have now coming into homes, it was all back to nature, you know. And we spoke last week there or a few days ago there about let's say water and how energetically we code water, right? Like you talk about messages in water, the crystallized format, the memory, all of the above, right? And we're living in a world where everything is in hyper overdrive. You've TVs, news happening all the time, right? So not only with the water coming into the house, you have people talk about different toxins and all that kind of stuff, but it's also been the harmonics of the house, the energy of the
Yeah.
housing estate, you come in all of that. But when we go back to nature, right, and we look at the water that you get in the wells is very different than what you have in a tap, right? It's totally different. Like the well itself goes deep into the ground, right? And the deeper you go into the ground, that's where the healing is. That's where the
Yeah.
healing of that well is. It's coming deep from that's what old societies would say, Eru. That was the blood of Eru and the rivers, but the wells were where our healing always came from. And you have amazing people now in Cork and they're cleaning out all the wells and we're slowly getting back to a time in Cork where this energy is becoming more abundant and more frequent, all of the above, right? Um, but we definitely need to go back to drinking from wells and all of the above. You have the mineral content that's in it. It was seen as long time ago in Ireland magical because it could cure so many
That's
problems
right.
we had. Today we know of the, let's say, the medicinal properties, all of the above. And I suppose too, we live in a world where, let's say, pharmaceutical industries, all of that, it's kind of in their best interest not to leave people understand the
Yeah.
healing benefits of this water. And I would even go further and say it's in their best interest even pollute things and allow things to fall into a bit of decay, all of the above, right? So we have amazing people now in Cork, and they're cleaning out all the wells, all of the above. So once they clean out all the dirt and grit, and they're doing it anyway, the trees then become nearly like the magical devices that help to program the water, you know?
Yeah.
That's what they do. The trees will pull all the toxins and stuff out of the ground, all of the above, and leave the water develop in its proper natural symbiotic biotic format. Now, in Ireland, a long time ago, they believed that the water itself, that type of water, was sacred, pure water, all of the above. But they believed it nearly had an intelligence in it when you were drinking because you were nearly coding the waters of your body. We are
Yep.
90% water, right? Maybe even more than that, right? So the type of water that we are bringing into our body is very
Very
important.
important.
So like bringing water from the land and that grounded energy from the earth is here to heal us. We've just lost track of it. So getting back to that and drinking from the land, all of the above, teas from, and I know I say people have herbal teas as well, and they go away to the shop and buy them. You might buy peppermint tea, this, that, the other. But these are things that grow naturally, right? And
Yeah.
people have the understanding of nettle tea. But if anybody is on here, just Google oak tea.
Mm.
Google oak bark tea. Uh, if you've time tonight and you've nothing else to do, just to pinch your interest, Google oak bark tea, right? And Google the health benefits of oak bark tea. And if you want to message me after and have an amazing chat, just saying, I never knew that. Oh wow, I never knew that. And
Yeah.
you realize like, oh, like the oak tree produces the purest form of oxygen, right? Um, so we produce when we breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. The tree takes in the carbon dioxide. We've a symbiotic development with it, right? So when you're drinking tea from an oak tree, I'm just using the oak tree for example now at the moment. Those teas are designed to heal your lungs.
Yep.
That's medicinally what they do. It's the breath of life, right? And that's what they're designed to do. As I said, now Google oak tea health benefits, right? Um, then obviously you can go from the oak tree onto the birch, and we know the birch tree as well is really good for antibacterial properties and all of the above. Like if you cut yourself, birch is really good for all of that, right? So all of the medicines that we are getting off pharmaceutical industries are just byproducts of processes that come from the plant world. And the trees are the most powerful plants on planet Earth, right? So obviously with the Ogham calendar in Ireland, we look at the 13 powerful native trees. Brilliant. But other countries would have slightly different
Yep.
powerful native trees to them. So they would have a slightly different coding to Ireland. But once you understand this coding, you start to realize wow, I understand where they're coming from. Now, even when you get into the, let's say, the Ogham alphabet, and then you look at the early Irish alphabet, all of the above, most indigenous tribes around the world, their languages also come from trees, and you get to realize, wait there now, there's a bit of a symbiosis that was happening a long time ago, that we had a lot of similarities the same, and you also realize that let's say you could have an indigenous tribe in Ireland and an indigenous tribe in, let's say, Guatemala. And we had no way of really communicating. You couldn't phone at the time. Look, there's theories and concepts of different meditations and different spiritual practices, whatever. But you start to realize that they all taught the exact same, right?
Yep.
So they all taught the same, and they were all left alone on their own lands, and they all realized over time nature is what is there to heal us, and it's our job to protect that healing device. That's what it is. We talked about, let's say, with the water last time, and water is a technology. That's what it is, right? Um, it's an energy conductor, all of the above. So you can put whatever energy you want into it. So that which is coming into your house is processed, and it's no different than, let's say, if you eat a high processed meat and you have organic meat, they're two completely different products. Highly processed meat is very dangerous for you to eat, and let's say organic meat would be very good for you to eat. But it's very similar with water too, as well, you know? Like the water coming into your house, we don't drink tap water in my house. We haven't drank it in a while, right?
Mm.
I'm not going to get into the depths of it, but we it was against the law for us to get the water tested in Ireland, so we shipped it off to America and we got it tested privately, and we weren't happy with the results that came back from it. I'm not going to go into it too deep, but we're not happy with the results that came back from it. And so we drink, obviously, we drink bottled water. But now that we're getting to a point where well water is getting a lot cleaner and we're going back to the normality of it, that's what I'm going to be going back to. Of course I am. That's like this, the even the oxygen levels in this water, that's what heals your brain. That's
Yeah,
what this is what keeps us alive, you know? So like obviously the water as well, the trees are a high content of water too as well, right? So the trees and the water is always up in its natural format, always operates in a very symbiotic format, right? And that's why if you go to these holy wells in Ireland, they were always holy because they seen it as like because that made us whole. That's what healed us, right? So you honored and gave thanks to that which healed you, and you honor the land like a god itself because it is a god. It's healing you in a major way. So next time you're at an important well, have a look at the trees around it. You probably realize that the whole tree system was planned by intelligent people who understood this, you know? And you've different wells then that would have different healing benefits. And again, going back in Ireland a long time ago, it was seen as very magical, the
yeah,
healing abilities and what it could do for you. And like I love at the moment the way we as people are slowly going back to seeing it as that magical format, you know? And it really is. It really is. And look, don't be saddened about us being disconnected for a long time. That's just part of the cycles of life. We're now at a time where we're reconnecting to the whole lot. And if you have if you have wells near you, we're kind of trying to get people to go back out and clean them up and
that's it.
um,
Look after the bit.
look after it. And I like there's a big movement in that's happening in Cork that's quickly spreading around the country of people doing this, and we're realizing the
Yeah,
effect that it's having. And when you're, let's say, see people that are cleaning out wells, doing all of that, they're very happy people. It's like we get joy and happiness for being involved in those kind of things, you know?
yeah, yeah. And of course, you mentioned too, not only the water and the trees and the plants, but also the food and eating the food that grows in the same area. How important it is to keep the same frequency because everything runs in a frequency and
Yeah,
it's where we live and where we are. That's the sort of food and things that we want to be eating. There's a big resurgence in eating within a 5 mile radius, and not to be importing stuff from too far away or not to be picking food which is too far away.
yeah,
That it might be the same, called the same name, broccoli or cauliflower, but
yeah.
the cauliflower and the broccoli that's grown within your 5 mile radius is going to have the same frequency as you and will be far more substantial for you.
Totally. And even just to put it into another interesting context, like there's a very interesting book called The Lost Magic of Christianity. Whatever about the name of it, but it goes into, let's say, the technology of stone circles, of
Mm,
round towers, of all of the above, right? So the stones that were round towers were made of were actually kind of like crystalline format, right?
yeah,
And they were designed in a certain way to improve the fertility of the soil around it, you know. So that's why, and monastic settlements were built around this because they believed then that the food had a higher healing ability, so they seen it as almost sacred in a way, you know. And these were the early monastic settlements in Ireland. So if you look at any round towers and stuff, you look that they were always growing stuff around that,
yeah,
you know. Um, this is who we are. This is who we are as people. I sometimes I find it. Don't get me wrong. I'm always interested and love the whole, let's say, Druid history and teachings of Ireland, all of the above. But in a way as well, there's a bit of misfortune, I believe, that comes with it because we disassociate
yeah,
ourselves from that and say that, oh, they were Druidic people. No, it was never like that. Like just like we were talking earlier about Buddhism and stuff. Like in Buddhism, nobody's going around saying that they're Buddha. And it's very similar, like even let's say with the Druid ways in Ireland, going around saying that you're the Druids. No, it's just you're disconnecting everybody's
yeah,
natural connection to it. So the correct way of saying it, you would say, oh, there's a bit of a Druid in him. and
Mhm.
just honoring and respecting that person in that way. But this is who we are. Like when it comes to nature and understanding, one thing I love about Ireland is you can meet a random man just next to a river in the woods, right? And you can nearly have a life-changing conversation with him about the importance of a river or something, you know? It's like
Mm.
this is naturally who we are. I think there's a reason why long time ago as well, Ireland was a place of spiritual excellence, all of the above. It's like that's naturally part of us, you know? And obviously we've been disconnected. We lost our social structures, all of that. And our social structures before were all based around nature. Everything, the whole country was, even that's where all the
Even the
river,
language, yeah,
even the language, every part
yeah,
of it, you know? And like so we now are returning to the spirit of the land and who we are. And it's all about nature. Everything is about nature. Like you, when you're with your child, right? You bring your child out. The happiest the child is when it's in a natural
exactly.
environment and around nature. It's very important. Also, just to talk about the trees as well, and an important aspect of it. Like if you, let's say you have a bit of land or you go to the woods and you see a bit that's maybe polluted or the soil doesn't look well, plant a tree.
Yeah,
Plant a tree. Plant a tree. Take an acorn. Like soon there'll be acorns everywhere, right? What the best thing you can do is get a seed box out your back, just a square meter box, or whatever, and put 100 acorns into it. And as they grow, like I like giving gifts of trees and stuff, and I just I find it's a lovely thing to do. Even we were recently at a wedding, and it's just lovely to turn up with a tree as a gift
yeah,
for them. And even we live in an advanced world, but there's something lovely about the simplicity of here's a tree, you know, here's
yeah.
a gift of an oak tree, whatever. But even us as Irish people, we need to go back to our own roots as well of planting trees, you know. There's you can grow a chessy tree even with your kids, whatever, it doesn't matter. But like looking at the land and again seeing the trees are the devices that heal the land and heal the soil and grow um, strong soil for us to grow food or whatever. But the stronger the soil is, that heals everybody.
Yeah.
That heals everything. And if you think about it, that's where your final destination is anyway, right?
Back into the soil, yeah,
Back into the soil. So then you can have an interesting question. I like to I joke with friends about this topic, right? But if you're being planted into the soil, would it have an effect then if, depending on the mycelial mass, will that change your means of transition, let's say, into the or to the next phase of, I see it as the next phase of life, whatever, right? So like are you as a person, the spirit of you, are you honoring the spirit of yourself by improving the mycelial health of the very soil that you're going to be putting yourself into?
yeah,
If you think of it too, you think of the ancestors of our lands, all of that, they're all buried in the soil. You look at even had they done in the old teachings, they are the people of the underground.
yeah,
That's the Mycelial network. And that's also why you'd have a culture in Ireland of even, let's say, magic mushrooms, but they will not like in a party way, but like we have people now and they'd go to the Amazon for things like ayahuasca, whatever. And I guess these were definitely a form of Irish way of doing that. But obviously, I would say to anyone, if you're going to do that, it's about being around the right people. You need to be in nature.
without a doubt.
There's
Yeah,
it needs to be seen as a sacred thing, no different to if you're going to the Amazon taking ayahuasca with a shaman. I would advise you find shamanic people in Ireland and good people who can look after you. And again, you can heal your mind and brain in many ways. Like if you think of it now, just to put it into perspective, right? When it comes to mushrooms, all of the above, and we look at even what's that place called in Silicon Valley there in America, right? Where all the computer programmers, all of that, they're all microdosing on mushrooms because it helps them program. It teaches your you. I'll just speak from experience with mushrooms before. Like when you go into the woods, you will see how the trees communicate and how it all works. Um, I've grown in Ohm Grove and I've slept in it, all of the above, and you can see exactly the symbiosis of how it all works. It has an effect on your nervous system, definitely, you know,
yeah,
and like there's a beauty in that too. When we live in a world where nothing is really working, it's all falling apart. And then when you go, wow, nature is perfect, all of the above, there's therapy in that. But the point that I was getting to, like even when it comes to programming, and we look at the world today, even if you talk about Bitcoin or these technologically advanced systems, whatever, right? They were all created by people who take mushrooms. All of them. The best programmers in Ireland. I know a lot of them. They're what I would call mushroom people. You know, they would understand programming, and they understand even with computers. The most advanced way of programming is based on mycelial networks. It's the natural code of all things, right? Not only that, even you look at the subway system in Japan and how they perfected the subway system in Japan based on mycelium and how the fungus, its natural and
The networks, yeah.
its natural networks were built on that. Everything in life is built like that. Everything.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at a point out. Everything. So if you're going to build, let's say, your own tribal system, your own everything. These are these are the teachings, and that's why as well in Ireland the trees were seen as god forms too as well, because they were what coded the planet and kept the soil intelligent and all of that, right? And our foods, all of that come from the soil. And think of the tree as the doctor of nature. That's what it is, you know. You'd even find, even if you're growing small oak trees, which I would, and I just say oak trees because for me it's the most important tree at the moment because they're depletion of soil, all of that, whatever. But different people love different trees, that's okay. But even if you're going to plant oak trees, right, and let's say you've a after the first year, it might be about this height, whatever, leaves, it looks beautiful, all of the above. But if you plant that somewhere wild, every animal will see it as a medicine. Every
Yeah.
one of them. So it'll be eaten in no time. And that's the animal life know the importance of all this sort of stuff,
That's
right?
it.
And then when it grows, it becomes a healing device for us, right? So, but then again, look, there's nothing wrong with putting out healing devices for, and but most of the animals, the acorns that fall off the trees and then they grow underneath the tree, the animals will eat all them. So there's the trees are already healing animals in a way too, as well, you know. But there's a lot of teachings that come from trees too, as well. But they're here to heal our nervous system, I believe, and our lungs, all of the above.
That's
Again,
it.
like even just keeping to the oak tree, there's different trees, hazel, all of the above. But even just keeping to the oak tree, and again, I would ask people just simply Google oak tea benefits, oak bark tea benefits, all of the above. And you're going to be gobsmacked going, shit, how come we didn't know this? And then you kind of
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
we did. We knew this for a long time. The whole alphabet was based on it. And that's why the oak tree was seen as sacred in Ireland for so long, right?
That's it.
But they're here to heal us, right? Obviously, you can get into a magical realm too, as well, an understanding of that. And we've a lot of folklore, a lot of mythology, all of this too in Ireland, right? And for example, I'm going to introduce you to a small bit of it, right? Let's say wherever you are living, right? I'm living in a house here, and let's say I can pinpoint oak trees in, let's say, half a mile radius around my house, right? So I will go to the different oak trees and I will get tea from the different trees around my house and make tea. And I would consume the DNA of each one of those trees. So now
Hmm.
I have an energetic connection to a surrounding area around me, and I can use that as, let's say, protection, manifestation, all
Yeah.
of the above, right? Um, this kind of a thing. And but but I also think I'm at a point now where I'm careful with what information I share to people because I think it's your own journey too as well. And I think when yeah, we live in phone world and all of this, but when you connect back to nature, you're put back into your natural state, I believe,
Yeah.
right? And your natural state will tell you what's best for you.
Yeah.
And you have faith in yourself and you will go on the road that's best for you, right?
Yeah.
I think planting trees and all of the above, the it has sent me on a road now where even if I'm at home and the family are gone, I'm at a point I'm out playing with the trees.
Yeah,
But it gives me happiness, right? In a world that you look at politics, all this, that, the other. I know I'm doing something important for the world, even just planting one tree.
yeah.
Now, the tree will grow for minimum 500 years, right? So look at the effect you're having. And I'm planting them all the time. And like, again, you can look into what really started me on my realm was, I suppose, learning the teaching that you go to heaven when you plant the tree, for you leave the world in a better place than you found it. And the more I thought about that growing up, I was like, this makes too much sense because if you're planting trees in this way, you're respecting all gods, all formats, all
Yeah.
cultures. You're even respecting the very culture of the soil, and you're respecting all those who are buried in the soil who have gone before you, going right back lineage to your ancestors, all of the above. And this is culturally who we are too, as well, you know? And yeah, it
And
could
of
be,
course,
yeah.
it's it helps us to connect with pure consciousness.
Totally.
I mean, consciousness is all around, and that's the one thing with trees, and that's the one thing about being human, that when we start taking responsibility for ourselves and for our own actions and for connecting, we realize that it's by connecting with the trees and by taking the substance, is that it opens up the consciousness, expands us to all that is and all that ever was. And
Yeah.
in many ways, we're opening up to divine consciousness, and we're sort of helping ourselves to help others. And we're moving into an area now which is very interesting, in which we could probably talk again, do a whole evening on this, because I'm just mindful of the time,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that we're kind of we're over the halfway mark. So I think for tonight, I think we leave it at that. I encourage everybody to check out the trees, Google trees, see that all of the trees that's around us, they all have healing benefits to us. And it's everybody, the old people knew this, the old cultures knew this, and they used the trees, and every tree has its purpose and has a healing purpose. Nature provides us, it'll kill us, and it also gives us what will
Yeah.
heal us. So
Yeah.
it goes both ways. So this requires further looking into. But for tonight, I'd like to thank everybody who's watching. Anybody who'd like to know more, please feel free to reach out to Jared or myself, and I'll put you in contact with him. And we shall do another show, and we'll delve that little bit further into it. But for the moment, we thank everybody for watching. Um, be well. May your God go with you. And remember the trees, and remember connection with the trees, and see, prove it for yourself. Connect with a tree and see how good you feel, the difference that it makes in your life. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next week. Thank
Thank
you.
you.